Paul Whitley, I am so honored always to be able to hand things over to you for incredible conversation, incredible content, and also just that refresher and those really practical ideas of how we as CEOs can be leading our businesses forward successfully. And you hit on all the core areas. It's not just about the financials, although the incredible expertise you bring to the table for all of what we need from a financial perspective is extraordinary. It's about all the other pieces that you pull together in the C-Suite Support Council and all the other expertise that we as executives of our businesses, owners of our businesses need to be able to succeed. So Paul, without further ado, I'm going to hand things over and thank you for your incredible leadership across not just the C-Suite Support Council, but all of C-Suite Network.
Tricia, thank you very much. I just am honored and humbled by the opportunity to work with you and the team over there. From my viewpoint, that is a blessing to me. As you know, we're a fractional CFO company, and we have a partnership with Buy and Build Advisors that does M&A transactions. So we try to work with CEOs across the nation to do both. And this is a platform we have the opportunity to talk to fantastic CEOs that do business in the world that we live in, the verticals that we live in. And today I'd like to introduce to you a gentleman by the name of Greg Dawson. Greg and I met through C12 and some of the activities that he does there with the Summit 25. He's the founder of Strand Solutions and 3Strand.ai, a software development company that does a lot of AI development. He's blessed me by allowing me to go into his training sessions to learn how to do some things, and is encouraging me to do a lot more, which I am on the precipice of doing. So with that, I'm going to open it up to you, Greg. Tell us a little bit about you and 3Strand and what your effort in this world is to help others.
Sure. Thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure to be here. I really am honored to be here, and thank you for this opportunity. 3Strand Solutions is a 20-year-old custom software and database development company. We basically help companies modernize their legacy systems and get out of the technical debt that they're in. And a lot of times that means converting them from even paper processes or Excel or Access or something very simplistic like that to a much more formal system that helps them to be able to have efficiencies, effectiveness across all areas of their business, revenue generation, operations management, financial management, organizational development, and in our case, ministry as well.
Well, I appreciate that. You and I had the opportunity. I needed a new landing page recently. And you said, let's see if we can do something about that. So we delved into your repertoire and your library, to speak, and put that in there. And I am in the process right now of taking that information that was a result of that and redoing landing pages and the front pages of our website, and taking those. It was like magic. It comes down to, as we all have been told, prompts. And if you know what the prompts are, or you can figure out how to do the right prompts, AI is magical. Not really, but it's got good machine learning, and your team specializes in building out processes that allow Zapier and other things to communicate with programs and automate systems. So Andrew is a partner with us. He's on the call with us today, and he's with Buy and Build Advisors. And we do a lot of integrations with companies. So with that, I'm gonna, there's a lot of hype about AI. What is AI, and how, it seems magical until you realize it's just machine learning that somebody has figured out to use and use well. So to share with us about the hype and why we can get there without all of this mess.
Sure. A lot of people look at AI as just a toy, right? They'll go out and make funny videos of their friends and things like that, but they may not have really leaned into using it inside a business. And there's so many different things that can be done very simplistically with AI, with generative AI, such as ChatGPT and Gemini, et cetera. And that's where we focus, right? We actually oftentimes have our AI powered workshops that Paul has been gracious to attend multiple times, where we actually pick a book that has a framework surrounding either a professional development, business development, or something like that. That we actually has a framework that people can follow for improving their lives or their businesses, and actually walk through that process, that prompt, if you will, to help with that. And so that is one way that we help people do so.
Well, I appreciate that. From my standpoint, we use it with our clients in trying to look at their financial situation, both in how to look at it, but not only how to look at it, how to use it for uh, coming up with areas to work with. I just worked with a client that their inventory has increased 50% over the last year, while their revenue is pretty static. So we built out a plan in there for reducing that inventory over a 90-day period to start, and then a 6-month period to put that 50% of increase in inventory back in the bank. You can talk about those things. You can work on worksheets with them, but you put it in AI and put all the things that's happened in the past. It not only identifies the problem, puts it in a manner that a CEO can understand, that seems simple to you and me, that if you put, $150,000 more in inventory, it better be turning, it better be increasing revenue, or you've just taken money out of the bank and invested it into inventory, which is probably going to get stale or old if you're not careful. So, utilizing for something as simple as inventory management to projection of what is this going to do to my cash flow? What is this issue to it? So, from my standpoint, financially, it works pretty good. Now, we all hear this, if you don't get on the bus, you're going to be left off the bus. What is this? What's your opinion about this situation of time lost to repetition, but also the expense that you're having that someone else is not having, that starts putting them one step ahead of you in progressing and getting better?
Sure. Or they're going to get run over by the bus, right? So that's the other option. I will say that, there's a lot of issues that companies deal with that can be automated, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean AI. But sometimes that automation is what it takes to get to that point where leaders can actually spend that strategic time to make strategic decisions that move the organization forward. So much time, particularly for legacy minded companies that have been around for a little while, they've got processes that are outdated and just haven't been upgraded over time, right? And that costs them more than they know. There are really some hidden liabilities there, if you will, in those organizations. And that's what we help do, is automate a lot of those processes, either through things like you talked about, such as Zapier or other platforms like that, or just custom software. But then we integrate the AIs into that side of the business as well, to be able to move forward as well. And that process, the faster that companies can look at different opportunities, the faster the more opportunities they can evaluate, right? And from that time repetition perspective, the more you can iterate, the better you can be, right? And we're called to be excellent as Christian business companies.
We definitely are. And give us a couple of examples, if you don't mind, of, redacted without names, but things that you've been able to go in and work with a company to where a CEO was able to improve something significant in their company.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. We've been working with a client, and I don't mind using names either. We've got a company we've been working with for about a decade called Dry Dock Logistics. They actually do logistics for cruise lines when their cruise ships are in dry dock, for about a 20-day period, and it tracks all the different things that are going on and off that ship, such as tools and materials, and then the trash and everything else coming off it as well. And that's a substantial process. 2,500 contractors working on a cruise ship at one time, and needing all those things, in their minds immediately, right? So a decade ago, they were actually doing a lot of that on paper, and the CEO at night was entering that information that was faxed to him right at that time, entering that into an Excel spreadsheet, and then sending the reports out to the cruise lines on a nightly basis. I'm happy to say that one of the things that owner, the CEO, and his wife, who's a fellow owner in the business, obviously, they took their first vacation that was 3 weeks long, celebrating their 25th wedding anniversary, because they don't have to do that kind of thing anymore. They've scaled the business. They made it through COVID, had some different bumps in the road and things like that. But by tracking those things on a more with a system, a database system that works together with iPad minis, etc., they were able to really track and move forward with that organization. So we modernize that legacy system, if you will, and that varies. Today it would look a lot different, perhaps for some companies, but that's what it looked like a decade ago, right?
I can understand that, and I'm going to throw a curve to you, and that is to see if from your library, the landing page or the uh, prompts that you were using there, that maybe somewhere in this call you might get prepared to throw that up on screen on a share, and let's just see if you can give an example to where the people on the call and the people that watch this video can see some physical aspects of how that goes. And I'm talking long enough to let you find it there, but then I'd like to also talk about how your systems, once you do that, pull it together and take that into the systems that are in a company. And another example of how you efficiently and competitively change a company once you're allowed to get in to work with their integrations. So
Sure. And I will tell you that we've got Paul, you're referring to the platform system that we have all the prompts on. We are, and I'm going to show you kind of a back end view that's a little bit different, perhaps, than what our clients would see, but it gets us in the right direction. And I'm still pulling that up, if you bear with me.
I'm definitely doing
Um,
that. I know this is a curve. I should have thrown that to you to be ready for me to do something like that. But it's one
sure.
thing for us to generically talk about it as we're doing right now,
Yes.
and it's another thing to see this effort in action. And where it comes into is 3Strand has built out these types of prompt systems for most area. I will say most, many, maybe most areas of a company, of how do you build out a marketing program? How do you build out a landing page? How do you build out an inventory system? Things to start pulling in to help you with real time, real life situations to go with that. So while I did that to you on the fly, and again, I apologize, but not really. I want to see it in action again, and let these folks see this once you're ready to pull that up and go, and
Sure.
let me know when you're ready to share.
All right. I think I am sharing. I probably had a mirror effect there. So
All
this is
right.
our simple academy. We've got a section we call our AI MBA. We have areas of strategy, product innovation, marketing, sales, operations, HR people, finance, admin, and personal development. And a lot of times, like I mentioned earlier, we do a lot of things based on books. It's something that people can relate to very well. So, for example, in the area of strategy, good to great, we can view some different tools that are tied to that. And I'm sure a lot of your folks have read this book and are familiar with it. So we've got different workflows, for example, along the hedgehog concept, level 5 leadership, flywheel momentum builder, etc. And we can actually go in and actually just get a prompt, if you will, and copy that prompt. And I'm just going to open up my preferred AI, if you will, and we can actually just paste that entire thing in, and it'll get us started. And that is a way to really shortcut working with these different things that you mentioned across all the different areas of business. And you can see it's going to just ask us some questions to get situated. And in regards to, ChatGPT knows me by now. So it's asking me if I'd like a brief overview of the hedgehog concept. I'm just going to dive right in. And so step one is going to ask us to explore passion. We're now exploring the first circle of hedgehog concept. What drives you and your team on a personal level? Please share the core aspects. Please provide examples and descriptions, etc. The nice thing is, as I mentioned, ChatGPT kind of knows me by now. So I'm just going to type in this case, use what you know about Strand Solutions. I'm not going to worry too much about capitalization or spelling. It knows what I'm talking about. And it's giving us some suggestions, transforming organizations through technology and AI, serving others with integrity, humility, excellence, and generosity, developing people, empowering them, solving complex problems with creativity and craftsmanship. And you can see it's even using some of my team members' names in this because I'm very open, if you will, with the AI. So it gets to know me and gets better results. That makes sense. I don't know how far you want to go with this, Paul, but
well, I mean, this kind of gets the startup, and I know it's throwing on pieces, but I want to tell you that in 5 minutes, I had a landing page. 5 more minutes, I had a front page, and it was pulling information that is publicly known, internally known. I would pick it up, and I was amazed at what you did. So I wanted to kind of put it out there that this is what it does and how it does if you use the right prompts. So,
yes.
From my standpoint, I wanted that landing page because that was something important to me. And
Sure.
I won't belabor that any further, but we'll bring you back in here to talk about what do you do to adapt solutions to companies' workflows? How do you use this instead of uh, not you telling them what to do, you finding what they do and telling them how to do it better.
Yeah, God made every individual unique, and every company is unique, right? And they have, if you think about some different books, such as Traction, it talks about finding your three uniques. And so we really spend a lot of time getting to know our clients. In the software development world, it's very, very important to get to know not only the company but their processes and the individuals. When they roll out a new software development project, that has big impacts on the people. So when we actually meet with clients, we're going through that discovery process and we're really trying to meet their physical needs, right? Developing that software that's helpful to them, what have you. But even that emotional need of change management, right? How is it going to impact different team members? What are the different aspects that it's going to impact within an organization? Even individual departments don't act in a silo, right? They are a part of a whole and it impacts others within the organization. And then we even do so on a spiritual basis. That client I mentioned earlier, Dry Dock Logistics, we do a weekly prayer call with those two owners, right? Because we know the kinds of challenges that they have as business owners. So I'll say that we use AI as much as we can to the glory of God. We're not looking, a lot of companies out there are looking to cut down their workforce, and certainly efficiency and effectiveness is something that we have a passion for. But really, we should be using that to expand God's kingdom and expand our businesses in that area rather than just cut headcount, right? As we think about that from a global economy perspective, if we replace everybody, all the knowledge workers out there, then nobody's going to have money to spend products and goods and services. So we need to have a bigger, longer term view of what this AI shift really means. And I don't know if I mentioned, I directly answered your question, Paul. So I'm going to let you restate that if you need to.
No, you did. And from my standpoint, I'm wanting to share the capabilities of your company that are available out there. And, every company is different. So they need to be talking to you direct or someone like you as to
Yes.
what can I do to improve automations in my company that I get a return on investment. What do you see as when you go into a company to help them with their automations and systems, do you keep up with return on investment that you have with those companies so that they are first aware they have savings, and second, just quantifying what those savings are.
Yeah, we really do focus on a return on investment for our clients. And, 70% of projects, software development projects go over budget. So oftentimes there's a big challenge, even for us, right? You think about when you're onboarding a new person in an organization, when do you start getting a return on investment on that person? Well, think about it from our perspective as an outside consultant coming in, not knowing your people, not knowing your organization. It takes time. And so any company, any software development company is going to go through that process. And sometimes they don't spend enough time in that. And that's really why we focus on that discovery, be able to really create that return on investment. And that return on investment, again, doesn't necessarily impact just one thing. It may impact the entire organization in different ways. If it makes one department's job easier, but another department's job harder, then what was the true return on investment, right? We look at that on a holistic basis to find out what they are really doing there. And in some cases, those projects are defined small enough. We call that a minimal viable product, where we can actually, really look to see what the return on investment is. We've had clients, for example, look at us from an automation standpoint on doing collections. What does that mean? How much do they bring down their AR? Are they really what's their average days late, right, on their balance books and so on. So there are some that are very definable and others are not, but certainly we do focus on that.
Well, one of the things, and I'm going to use this as an example, and again, this is thinking on your feet time. We have a situation now to where we're very much involved in a company that acquired a new company. Their systems don't necessarily communicate, and they also are doing an upgrade in their own ERP. How would 3Strand step in to help build automations to do those for the current situation and then potentially for future acquisitions?
Sure. So one of the first things we're going to do is look at those existing systems to see what kind of integrations exist. Are there different things that can be used kind of off the shelf, right? We are a custom software and database development company. So those off the shelf things are not really our areas of expertise, but we've got to look at that on a return on investment perspective. Is that going to be a better option for customers, quite frankly? And then secondly, we actually look to see, are there different APIs or other ways to integrate those different systems so that they can communicate with one another, and what information is stored in those different systems. We look at, are there commonalities of data points where really, we need to have one master source of information, or is there a place that we just need to copy information from one system to another to save from an automation standpoint? We don't want somebody entering the same data in 7 different systems and wasting a ton of time. That's just not efficient and doesn't make sense, right? It's a waste of money and a lack of good stewardship. So those are the kinds of things that we look at. And then, depending on those integrations available via APIs or what have you, we may build some software that is a middle ground between different systems to be able to integrate quickly, things like that. Or it just kind of depends on the case.
Well, I appreciate that. That's kind of the an overview, and I understand an overview with these kind of esoterical items here, but it
Yes.
gets down to the rubber meets the road, and that's one of the things that I wanted to allow you to emphasize on is you do get down to the 1 foot level to do the APIs and the automated process interface, automatic. You got to do those things when you don't have an off-the-shelf product. So sometimes you can remove a lot of frustration hours and improve accuracy at the same time. So I wanted to introduce you to that because we do, and Andrew and his team, they do a lot of post integrations for acquisitions. Their primary business is helping people acquire businesses, and then post transition of trying to get them there. We do similar. So some of those pieces, if somebody can step in and for 4 or 5 grand save 50 grand, I'm not saying you do it for 4 or 5. I'll infer that. But if you can do it for 25% or 50% of the cost and get it done and get it efficient as well as accurate, most important thing, I wanted
Absolutely.
to build that concept around there. And, I know that, from your standpoint, which parallels C-suites, you're very much in the servant leadership model. And why don't you go through how do you build your partnerships and what do you do to ensure that your servant leadership model works not only for you, but for every one of your clients?
Yeah, relationships are very, very important to us. We build long-term relationships not only with our freelancers that work as our developers, but also our clients. A lot of our clients are decades old, and that is really, really important to us. We will work very specifically on building trust. Now, Paul has been a part of our AI-powered workshops. Those are free workshops that we offer different folks be able to come to get to know us, right? People love doing business with those that they trust and know. And so we give people a chance to know us and trust us, right? By delivering things that provide value even before they're a client.
Absolutely. And I wanted, before we get through, to circle back that C-Suite Network is very much involved in AI. We have councils on the matter. In fact, as we have a summit that's coming up in Phoenix this month, that is the primary subject matter is AI. So this is something to at least open the door for conversation. And I may get Tricia on a separate call and take her through how to build pages. And Kara would probably love that too. That you can do this with little input. You have to know what your business is, and you have to know what you want to get out of the business in terms of who your customer is. But if you do, those prompts that I used, I thought they were amazing. So we've taken that and we've shared it with our marketing team, Sheila Rondo and Jacob Gunta. They're in the process of building those out as we speak. So I'm very prejudiced to that, having my own personal experience with that. So how do you balance innovation with faith?
Well, faith is the starting point for us, right? The name of the organization is Strand Solutions. Three strand being a reference to Ecclesiastes 4:12. Cord of three strands is not easily broken, right? We visualize ourselves as one strand, our clients as one strand, and God is the third. And in His will and with His help, we can do all things, right? And if we are think together as team members with our clients, then certainly we will have their best interest in mind as we go through those things. We Yeah, it was interesting. We've done a lot of different things over the years. As you mentioned, we know each other through C12. I've been a part of that organization for about 16 and a half years now. I actually am one of the two moderators on the C12 AI forum. It's got about 200 members or so now that we are growing that. So really, we like to involve our ministry in all aspects of our business. It comes down to how we name the company, our core values, our mission. We are here to do what God's asked us to do, and as a byproduct, we serve our customers with excellence.
Okay, one of the things you and I talked earlier about a gentleman that introduced me to geo-tracking.
Mhm.
And he was on your show not too long ago at a podcast explaining how do you do geo-tracking and other things to build out your business. And I know you work with companies to do this. Can you explain a little bit of how you would get involved to help a company figure out how to do that and build it around that? And I know that's not your forefront, but that's also your back
Yes.
end. Share a little bit about the marketing of just that simple situation into how it helps a company grow.
Yeah, I mean, really, it comes down to that discovery process, right? And when we can help companies, particularly using AI, kind of discover what they need to do to move forward, then we have a lot of success, right? And that can be in the form of marketing and sales, and that's a lot of times where that geo tracking can be a positive win. Is really marketing directly to particular clients. If you're, as example, a B2B organization and you want to target, 100, your top 100 list, right, that you're going to hit as clients that you want to have, you can actually target those individually and aim ads directly at them. And there's ways to do that by just learning that process with AI.
Well, one of the examples, and I know this comes in for folks like Andrew and ourselves, and particularly for Tricia in this situation, whenever they have conferences or go to conventions or go to groups to where there are people that they want to interact with. In the learning session that I was involved, we talked about how to just saturate 1 mile, 5 mile, everybody that's physically in that area, to every social media track that they looked at, they saw something about us. And you build those out. And this from our standpoint, when we're going to a pitch com, every person there needs to see something about us every hour of the day as soon as they pick up the phone. And those are the kind of programs that most people don't know about, or if they know, they only kind of have an inkling of what that is. But Tricia is in conferences and meetings all around the country all the time. So to have some type of situation to where this can just concentrate in on that area to hit CEOs, to hit companies, employees of the companies, if you're a B2B or B2C situation. So I wanted to bring that around because I sat there in that meeting going, oh my goodness, how can this help our clients? How can it help us? And yes, I'm going to be asking you to help me continue to work on that aspect for our group. And again, I have no doubt that Tricia, having some information and background about yourself, the two of you have something to talk about much further after this call. So in trying to bring this around, what would you say is the strongest point of your company, and what can you do that's the most benefit to your clients?
Well, I think it is that return on investment that's the biggest benefit, right? A lot of companies don't really know those hidden liabilities that they have out there, right? They've got technical debt in their processes. They've over the years accumulated multiple systems that they're doing different aspects of the business in that aren't communicating with each other, right? So one of the ways that we can do that is certainly by integrating those different systems together, saving on the efficiency from a data entry perspective, and sharing that information, right? A lot of us as CEOs want to have that data so that we can make the best possible decisions for our organizations strategically moving forward. And that's one thing that we can do to help.
All right. Well, I'm going to open this up to some questions here, so everybody kind of get prepared that's sitting around. Jason, what questions do you have for Greg Dawson? Getting unmuted, I can tell. That was the warning to get unmuted.
Hey, Paul, I've won if that helps out, get us going.
Yeah, please go.
All right. So, Greg, really informative. Thank you. There's a lot of things that's flying around the AI space, and AI stands for Andrew Intelligence, by the way. But there's a lot of things flying around about AI and the job markets and things like that. So. What would you say is the most effective way leaders can communicate AI and automation efficiencies and initiatives so team members can feel empowered, not threatened, so they become active champions of change, not resistors?
Yeah, a couple thoughts there, right? I think a lot of employees are afraid of AI from the perspective of it being replacing their jobs. And I think if you've got a leader who is casting that vision of, we want to expand the organization to God's glory through AI and keep everybody on board and repurpose some of the wasted time that they have, right, that make them more efficient, that's huge. The other thing from an empowerment standpoint is some employees are afraid to use AI because they're not sure if they're allowed to. So one way that CEOs can really empower their people is by setting some clear guidelines about AI, have an AI policy, and really, the best way to get that buy-in from the organization at a lower level is to involve those people in the process. So we've actually run AI policy workshops, much like Paul was talking about with some of those other workshops, where we actually have companies bring their team members together and work through that process together to develop an AI policy. What is allowed, what's not allowed, what information can they share with the AI, what can they not, in different formats. So that's important. And I think that's the best way to enable people. And we've seen that once people have an AI policy in place, then the people flourish because they know what they can do.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Brian,
pleasure.
what questions do you have, Brian?
Yeah, so it mentioned something interesting just now. Some employees or people on the work front aren't comfortable, or maybe may feel a little intimidated. But you gave a couple of different reasons, and I'll go with my reason. It seems a little bit intimidating to me, but I heard something interesting, not in specific words, in this last few minutes, where I'm thinking, how do I learn how to use AI? And rather, I'm kind of finding out now that it's not what I need to learn from the AI, but it's what do I need to teach my AI about me and my needs from it. And so this has kind of been a little bit eye-opening. And because I always wonder, I work with, closely with Paul and Jason, and they're really excelling in their use of AI. And I sit here wondering, what do I need to use as a prompt? Because I'm thinking, is there some kind of language I need to learn? But you just typed in something and you said dive in. I would have never thought just to say something as casual that to AI. And so I guess I'm trying to figure out, how do I teach it to know me?
Sure. So the short answer to that is just use it, right? We actually teach a 9-week black belt course where we teach people how to be efficient, effective in their roles. And that first week really is talking about how can I use AI, and in that it's how can I use it within my role. So we help people identify, a lot of times the last time somebody looked at their job description was when they were hired, right? But they can kind of take a step back and say, okay, here's my title. What are my 8 different role responsibilities? And then what role deliverables do I have under each of those responsibilities? So that's a process that we take people through. And then the question is, for each of those role responsibilities, if you're doing an 8x8 matrix, right, you've got 64 different deliverables within your role. A lot of us aren't doing a good portion of those deliverables because we don't feel like we have time. But if we had time by using AI, then we could do those things that we really are supposed to be doing. So the question then is, okay, pick a deliverable and then work on that deliverable. How can AI help me with this deliverable? Ask the AI, given that deliverable, what would be a standard operating procedure that I could use to create that deliverable? Or if you've got a deliverable, then that deliverable may be a 3-page document of it may be a report or something else. And you can feed that into the AI and say, help me recreate this. What would the steps be to recreate this on a monthly or a weekly basis? Something like that. So in many ways, it is getting used to using AI. And that's why we like our AI powered workshops. It's not intimidating to go learn more about a book that you've already known or a new one that you want to explore and work through that framework, and just having it ask you questions and it's starting to learn about you and your business. And by doing that, it builds that library of information of that context that's so vital to be able to get the most out of AI. The other thing that I'll mention is a lot of people don't know all the different what I would call modalities that people can use AI to do, right? We all know that you can type in text and get out text, and that's how most people in the generative AI space use it today. But we also have seen, okay, I can type in some text and have it convert, take what I do and create an image or a short video or something like that. But it can also do the reverse. Here, take this image, tell me what you see in it. Convert this slide that I just took a screenshot of to text that I can then use in something else. simple things like that. So that's one of the things that we do through those black belt courses, is really teach people, first of all the different ways they can use it, but how it applies to them in their roles. Is that helpful, Barry?
Yeah, it helped a lot. I did have one other question, and maybe this is kind of
Sure.
a silly question to ask, but when you're using AI and you're turning out information and putting it out into the public space, is there any risk of violating or compromising copyright rules or anything like that with the information you're putting out?
Yeah, so my first comment is consult your attorneys, but right, there's two different views on that, and I think Paul was the one that introduced me to a second way of thinking about some of that. That if you're not protecting your data, right, and you're intentionally not protecting your data, you actually have an opportunity to share information with your generative AI, whether that be ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or Grok or whatever, that it is using to learn your organization. And so if there's something that you're sharing with the AI, it may be a marketing piece, if you will, to other users of those things by learning about you and how to present that back to others. So that's one view, right? The other view is the opposite of that. I want to hold on to all this intellectual property. I don't want anybody knowing anything about me. And certainly that's a stance that a lot of people, take. I will tell you that, and we use all kinds of different generative AI models. We prefer, quite frankly, ChatGPT. ChatGPT does have a setting within that you can turn off, that it won't, OpenAI won't train their model on the data that you provide. Even down to that free level of access that's out there, you can select that setting so it doesn't take that information. At higher levels, they've got now they've relabeled it. They call it the business version of ChatGPT. By default, does not share information or train their models based on the information that you provide. It does, however, remember that those memories of your chats that you have, so it can provide additional information moving forward, just as you saw in my example earlier.
So coming back into that, there is the availability of training classes if you're interested. I don't know if they can be truncated or whatever, but I try to show up for every one of Greg's podcast and things that he does just for my own education, which I appreciate. But I'm going to see if I can get Greg and Tricia together to where this is out there all the time. Andrew, do you have any other questions?
Well, you just stole my thunder on my next question. It was all about security because you know my background. My other question is, so just let's build upon that. So, Greg, one of the things is that there's a lot of IP in businesses, right? There's a lot of information that businesses want to hold within inside. But they've got to share it within the organizations. I mean, we used to do that in documents, right? Let's go back, right?
Yes.
Building your manuals and your procedures. I mean, let's be honest, those things could actually get outside. But have you built kind of internal knowledge bases using AI that teams can build upon internally and build their own kind of knowledge base using AI tools? Have you done that? Have you had any experience around that space?
As a CEO, I have not, but our developers have.
Right.
so yes, that's an area that some of our developers have really leaned into. So we bring that down to what we call a local LLM, right? Where we've got a large language model, and we can certainly do that. The other interesting thing that I'll mention is that there are a lot of open source LLMs that you can actually lean into as well. We've helped some different organizations with medical data, as an example, so they can be better in their roles in serving their customers and so on. But yes, there are certainly a lot of different things that you can do to develop things on a local level, so it's just shared within your organization. And to your point, Andrew, most companies run on a cloud-based system right now. They're on Azure or Google Workspace or what have you, and they're sharing that information in the cloud already, right? Within a secure environment, and it certainly is possible from an AI perspective as well.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Well, Tricia, I'm going to ask you if you have some questions for him, and then say let's go ahead and close out from here. But what questions do you have for Greg?
Well, first, Paul, you're absolutely right. And Greg, I'm so excited to have more conversation around this. I loved essentially the mission-driven approach, and you use the word empower. So rather than a tool of destruction, that it's actually a tool that's empowering people to deliver against a mission that matters. And if if
Right.
if there's any reason to love capitalism, it's because it creates a sustainable model for delivering real success to our communities, and that
Mhm.
is the model. So I couldn't be more aligned, and Paul, to your point, couldn't be more excited to connect and look at how we get this message and this content further out across the whole of the C-suite ecosystem, certainly, North America wide, but also, just by word of mouth, we have a lot of global reach as well. And this is critically important, and that alignment around missions that matter and how we deliver against those missions with our businesses. So I just absolutely love that. The one thing that I am still uh, wrapping my head around is, as the CEO of C-Suite Network, I've been an executive at 3 enterprise-sized organizations: Canada, the US, the UK. And the language of never waste a good crisis sits heavy on my heart. So, never waste a good crisis, i.e., you have urgency to have people take action. You'll lose your job, you must do this. You'll lose your business or your market standing, you must do this. We all know this is, at this level, we all know this is a very effective tool that we don't want to waste. But I'm trying to wrap my head around what the real scenario is, because in this circumstance, now those of us who have more experience, we can slow crises down, right? We're all very proud across all of the C-suite leadership, the whole entire ecosystem, all of our leaders in C-suite network. We did not step down, we did not cancel, we did not pause anything when the COVID crisis happened. So our commitment was all the way across the board that we're going to be here, right? We're not healthcare first responders, we're business first responders, and we're not backing down, we're not backing away, and we're not going to sit on our couch till things are better. And so the whole entire culture and ecosystem of all of our leaders, we're very, very proud of this. With AI, the one thing, and if we're just leveling all things out, the one thing that is absolutely true is that it makes up for time. So when people say you must do this now, or you are going to be left in the dust, or you are going to fail, or you are, because we want to get people to move, and they should move. I agree with that 1,000%. And it's an amazingly powerful tool. But how realistic is that threat when you can put the commands in? um, and today you can be caught up to where the first adopters were in the same spot today. Now, I know that's not true for enterprise-sized organizations. There are a lot of other machinations, but there's a lot of other business problems aside from the fact that we're moving toward AI solutions in enterprise-sized organizations. So I'm just curious what your thinking is on that, because we're consulting and supporting business leaders that are all over the map, and there's not one solution for anybody. But I'm curious what your thinking is on the timing thing, the timing of things.
Yeah. Um, I think it is important to lean into AI. Otherwise, I wouldn't
Hmm.
be, beating that drum, right? And
Hmm.
I will tell you that the Christian community in the past has been very slow to take up on technology. Oh, we don't want to touch computers; they're evil. Social media, oh, that's evil.
Hmm.
All these different things, right? And oftentimes, the Christian community has been behind the times because they weren't early adopters, right? And I think this is one of those areas that we want to claim this area for Christ. And by doing so, right, we have that opportunity to make our companies more excellent, right? I think I would probably ask the question, why wait? You're
Hmm.
right. yes, you can get caught up. We live in this space, and there's so many times that we feel behind because, oh, we took a week vacation, and there's been a new model or two released, and what does that mean to our industry, right? But then
Hmm.
I take a step back and I talk to people that have actually never opened up ChatGPT or any other AI to their knowledge, right? But they'll still talk to Siri or something else that is,
Hmm.
technology that they don't equate to AI. So there is time to catch up. It's not too late. You can do it in the future, but if you're going to be performing in an excellent capacity, why not move now?
I love that messaging. I think the why not move now and how we deliver more or have wider reach or better, magnified outcomes, more impact. I think that's really interesting. I'm constantly thinking to this, and I appreciate that answer. You're the first person who's given me that answer, by the way. Um, I'm constantly thinking of, with Kodak, with film, right, which is near and dear to our hearts. My business partner, our chairman and founder, he was with Kodak. He was the global CMO of Eastman Kodak. And you can look at it and say, well, everybody knew film was going to go, but when? It certainly wasn't when the digital camera was invented back in the 70s.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? But so it took decades. Today, it's not going to take decades. So time just but it was inevitable. So what is the timing of things? Are there any big breakthroughs that you're anticipating in terms of the technology and what will happen sort of next?
I will say this, that the models have gotten better and better, and continue to be amazing. Even just on our strategic call, our level 10, if you will, in EOS language,
Mhm.
right, that we had with our team on Monday, we were talking about that specifically, how much better the Claude models in particular were getting from a coding perspective. And so there's all those breakthroughs happening, and we've been fighting with the hallucinations that AI has for some time, and how to protect ourselves against those things. But
Mhm.
those are becoming less and less, and it's becoming better and better. And every day we can say this is the worst it's ever going to be, right? As we move forward, so we get to trust it more and more. Certainly, I would say that the breakthroughs that I think a lot of people are looking for are really, can I trust it? Right. And there still needs to be a human component. I mean, I think that's a huge important part of all of this in the AI world, is what is that impact going to be on humans, and how are we utilizing these technologies to God's glory and to our good, right? So I think that's the thing that we need to be careful of as we move forward. But I think there's going to be some massive, massive changes when quantum computing becomes prevalent, right? There's going to be a point
Mhm.
where all of a sudden every password that all of us saves is breakable by quantum computing within minutes. So that day is coming, and that's a fearful moment for most of us. But what can you do about it, right? It's coming. Just kind of like you said, they saw the digital uh, cameras coming, and what was that going to mean? I think I agree. These things are going to be happening faster and faster as we move along. So there's a piece that we need to protect ourselves, think about what it means for humanity, for humans, for our organizations as we move forward. But we also don't want to sit still and do nothing. It's a
Mhm.
challenging balance that we all face, but it's something that we need to really think about.
Very interesting. Paul, I could go on, but I don't know. You probably want to wrap the
Well,
conversation
we're
for the
probably going
day.
to have to, because
Uh,
we're going to run out of time.
hmm.
But I would say, the more that you're grateful for, the more you're going to have to be grateful for.